there's something brewing, family, and I'm not talking about the drink on my hand right here, but rather it's the English dub of the 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You anime series. Well, knowing that this is going to be this is going to be animated rather, I was a bit skeptical on whether this series would get a dub or not, but apparently I just found out a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, a week ago or so, I found out that there was a dub version of this anime, and I was quite, okay, yeah, sure, there's a dub version of an anime, a series that I really, 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 really love. In my reviews that I've made and talked about the previous episodes of this, of the anime, talking about the voice actresses and the voice performances of the voice actors, I couldn't give them enough praise, right, because of how amazing and beautiful and really talented indeed all of the performances are in the characters that they've played, right. They've even discussed a bit about that when we took a look, right, at their promotional materials or at the promotional materials of the other girlfriends, right. But with this dub, right, I've never heard of, well, I do have my fair share of experiences with dub animes, right, English dub animes to be specific, right. But with this series, I have not, gotten a feel or grasp or an idea yet, right, as to, what would it sound like, knowing especially that this is a series that is a rom-com, right? And rom-com series tend to have a lot of these moments, and a lot of scenes and dialogues, conversation styles and patterns here and there, of which it may or may not be difficult to translate or to have it adapt or approach it in the English language, family, because as we all know, right, of course there's going to be some differences here and there with the way that Japanese voice actors would perform the lines and the way that English voice actors would perform their lines, right. So there's clearly there's differences, right, no doubt, but the question is about the quality of their performance and how it really affects the overall show. Well, let's find out in my own little perception and review of the first 2 episodes of the dub anime. This comes from Anime News Network, where I found out the names of the English cast of the show. Rentarou is played by Travis Mullinex. Hakari is played by Sarah Windenheft. I'm really sorry if I mispronounced the name. Karane is played by Ariel Graham. The Love God is played by Kenny James, and the narrator is played by Jim Foranda, right? And furthermore, we also have Helena Wallstrom, who is directing the dub version of this show, and Samantha Herrick, who is the producer. Fam, I've always dreamed if this anime, or this manga series rather, were to get an anime, of which now it does have, I wonder if I would someday be one of the voices or play one of the voices in this show. A background character at least, right? But no agencies have contacted me yet. I'm so sorry for my hubris. Let's get on with reviewing the English dub for this anime, fam. And huge disclaimer, by no means am I a professional voice actor of any sorts, right? I'm far from professional. I'm just a guy, a weeb on the internet, making videos about a manga series, an anime series, a light novel book, right, of a story that I really, 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 really love so much. And with that being said, fam, the way that I wanted to approach this review of mine is by taking a look at 4 different categories, so to speak, right? And just briefly go over them. The first is translations on how the characters, right, or how the director has translated the lines and dialogues of the characters, and essentially translate the story for the English viewer audience, right, or the English listener audience, so to speak, right. The second is the pronunciation of Japanese terms and names and such. The third is the delivery of the lines of each of the characters, and fourth, I'm just going to go over a bit of my own thoughts on how each of the voices of the characters, how were they, right? Now, in terms of translations, family, I've noticed that there's a lot that's, terminologies at least context that is quite similar to that of Seven Seas. Now, Seven Seas is one of the publishers, right, of the physical copy of the English official English translations of this manga, right? And I've also talked in the past before, made a video rather before about how their translation of the synopsis may, it needs some work to do, but at the end of the day, it's yeah, it is something, right? But with the way that the translations are in this series, I'm actually quite happy with it. Thus far, I was really able to understand the gist of the story, and in my opinion, it really works very well because they were really able to deliver the entire context premise of this show very well on the first episode, right? So yeah, there's that. Furthermore, there's also some changes here and there as well. A bit of differences that I've noticed as well from the official Seven Seas translations or English translations in the manga to that of what's being said in the anime, and I think that's even more so noticeable or prevalent, especially knowing that of course in the anime adaptation there's going to be a mix of different lines and scenes here and there. So of course the way that they would direct their lines, translate their lines, and give context to it is also different, and the way that they've delivered that context is actually pretty good. I'm really satisfied with their translations and all that, including in the translations of the characters' dialogue, right? Or when the characters speak, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, pronunciation wise, especially on the names, the only term thus far at least that I've noticed or heard is tsundere, delivered by Rentarou, right? And yeah, on that part, it's actually quite good, pretty okay. But especially on part of the names, right? Because the names, of course, all of them have these Japanese names and the like, right? So when they pronounce Rentarou, Hakari, and Karane, and their family names and such, I am actually quite satisfied with the way that they pronounce it, right? They've really done a really good job with the pronunciations, and also the way that they've dictated and articulate their words. Line delivery. Now, line delivery is what I would describe as how the voice actor or actress would deliver the lines of the character, embodying the character, so to speak, right? And with this dub, looking at the first 2 episodes, right? And the reason for that is because I don't want to just look at one episode only. At least I want to have another episode to look at, to hear from, right? To get a good idea, even more better idea, right? From just Rentarou, Hakari, and Karane at the least, right? Thus far, I don't know what Shizuka's voice or sounds like, right? But we'll see, right? And also the other girlfriends as well, right? Who knows what their voices would sound like in the English dub, and that is gonna be surprising, yeah. It's gonna be surprising. But going back on line delivery, yes, with the way that these voice actors delivered or embodied the characters that they've played, I think that they've really done it well, done a good job in saying it in the English language, right? It doesn't feel so off, right? It just feels enough and really right? It feels natural, so to speak, and I really like that. Some of you may disagree, perhaps, right, with my views and opinions, but at least to the way that I've heard and listened to it, I actually quite like it. I really love the passion that they've put into the characters, right? Now, speaking of characters, let's take a look at each of the characters. But first, I'm only gonna be taking a look at Rentarou, Hakari, and Karane's voices, right? Now, for Rentarou, our main protagonist, my god, I actually quite like it. I actually really like the voice. Travis Mullinix really did a good job in portraying Rentarou. And taking a look at his IMDb, right, I've noticed that I believe Rentarou is one of his more main roles as the main protagonist, right, so to speak. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, his voice is actually quite nice. In doing the bit of comical lines, it can be a hit. I wouldn't say hit or miss, right? But it feels. I wouldn't say weird, but it feels a bit, too much, so to speak, in one way or another. But regardless, right, I actually really love the way that he delivers a lot, most of his comical lines, or the moments when he really has that sort of high pitchedness to his voice, right? But the part where I also fell in love with the English dub of Rentarou is when he does the casual dialogues, right? Casual conversations, or just when he talks casually and all that, conversing. I really love it. I really love it. I think it fits him perfectly in one way or another, and I don't think it's too bearing at all. I don't think it's too, too soft or too, squeaky and the like. It's just right there. It's within the Goldilocks zone, right? And I am really happy with that. For Hakuri's voice, now here's the thing. I'm actually quite mixed with this, right? First of all, I've noticed that Hakuri's voice, right, who's played by Sarah Windenhef. Again, I'm really sorry for mispronouncing the name, right? So, played by this voice actress, I've noticed that the way that Hakuri has her lines delivered, right, or at least the tone of her voice, is quite gentle, sweet, passive, for lack of a better term. And, in one way or another, I guess it also does kind of fit and match her Ojo-sama character trait, right? When she is this prim and proper person, right? The prim and proper vibes that she emanates, I think that fits really well to that voice, right? But when she is scheming, or when she has this sort of love-struck moments when she gets all giddy and happy and just, flirtatious and the like, right? It kind of does come across as seductive and delivered really well, but I've also noticed that at times it can be squeaky here and there, right? For lack of better term. But the overall appearance that I get from Hakuri's voice, English dub voice, right, is actually, quite nice. But in my opinion, it does not really sort of have the same level of high-end energy, so to speak, right, with that of the Japanese dubbing, the Japanese voice performed by Kaede Hondo, right? Especially for example, at the time when she dropped the can, right, Kaede Hondo really, gave that sort of vibe that Hakuri was like felt so in anguish, right? So she really delivered that no or something like that, right? I'm sorry. And the way that the English dub performed it was, it does have that also sort of same characteristic and direction, but I feel like, yes, certainly there is a difference with the voice and the tone of the voice that sort of give me the impression that there is a different vibe and message to the shock, so to speak, right? Another example would be at the second episode when Hakari wanted to try the Boki game, right? Scheming with the Boki game that she had, and when it snapped, she goes, no! The Japanese dub rather was performed really well, right? No problems with that at all. The no part, right, performed in the English, right, was quite, would I say soft, I guess? I'm not really so sure how I could put it, but I guess in my opinion that's the best way that I can sort of describe it to some degree, right? Or maybe that's just me, fam. Maybe I just need to hear more of it and maybe then I get used to it. But yeah, but that doesn't mean that I didn't like the voice at all. In fact, I really, really, really love how the English dub really emits that prim and proper vibe to Hakari, right? I guess, but on the side of her, I guess, seductiveness or etchiness, right? I feel like, there's still something that I think could be added, perhaps. I'm not really sure, but either way, I can't wait, and I can't wait, and I really hope that this is really going to be even better, right? Now for Karane, sort of a similar case as well, but I let it, as they say, let it brew, right? And certainly after hearing Karane's voice, especially the second episode, right, I've gotten sort of a good idea, a good grasp, right? Now, with Karane's tone, she certainly does have that, you can really tell that this is an anime character based on the way that she talks, right? And I'm not just talking about the way that she conducts her speech or conversation or her communication style, right, or the dialect and words that she uses, right. But the voice itself is, it really does make it so that it fits her tsundere antics, right. It's high pitched, so to speak. Is that the right term? But with that, it does kind of emit to that of the a clearly anime style of of speaking and such. But it is, I find it to be quite sweet and quite funny and hilarious as well, in the sense that the way that she delivers her lines is really amazing, because a lot of the comedic moments, the way that Karane delivers her lines in that sort of voice tone is actually funny, and I really enjoy her character, enjoy the voice performance of this voice actress of Ariel Graham. Yeah, I actually really like it. It really does feel like Karane is so dynamic, and she really does portray that level of energy, right? Her, again, as I've said, going back to conversation style, the way that she chooses her words, the tomboyish vibe that Karane has to her, and all of those things. You can really tell that Karane is, Karane in this English dub. And yeah, moving forward, I really can't wait to hear more from this voice performance of Karane's character, right? I really love it. And yeah, overall, encapsulating the entirety of the voices, right? Hearing the voice of the love god, the teacher, and just all of the characters as well, and everyone with voice roles, essentially, I really, 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 really love it, and I can't wait to hear more from it. And yeah, that's just my own opinion, family. And with that being said, thank you for listening and take care.